morning, viewers, and welcome to the Friday edition of Inside Nigeria, your breakfast show on television. Today is 21st of July 2023, and let's just see what the papers are saying first before we move to the second segment. As a matter of fact, my guest, Majid Dahiru, is already in the studio to do justice to the headline stories today. We are starting with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership. Leadership Friday has the story: NAS committees, intrigues, horse trading as presidency hijacks process. NAS committees, intrigues, horse trading as presidency hijacks process. Senators Reps Sean Akpabio, Abbas lobby presidential aid. Lagos senators Reps now power brokers, Senate House keep mum. Senators Reps Sean Akpabio, Abbas lobby presidential aid. Lagos senators Reps now power brokers, Senate House keep mum. And we have another story to it underneath it. We are here to receive ministerial list, Senate. We are here to receive ministerial list, Senate. Fuel price hike cripples police activities in FCT. NEC rejects Buhari's social register over integrity concerns. Suspend World Bank loan on mass metering, lawmakers tell TCN NEC. Abduction of Odinga's bodyguard rattles Kenya's opposition. Above that, we have National Chairman crisis brews in APC over choice of Ganduje. Sultan Clark Adebanjo orders seek better security. And of course, we move over to the page 3 of Leadership, where you have the editorial of the paper, our stand. The stand today is on retirement benefits for ex-governors. On the back page of the paper, we have conversation with Azu. Azu is here when is the editor-in-chief of Leadership Media Group. Why Museveni video shames Africa? From that, we move over to the next paper we have on our menu. For more stories on leadership, just log on to the website www.leadership.ng. And the next paper we have on the line is Daily Sun. Daily Sun leads with the story: as progressive governors deny forcing at Adamu, APC chair, opposition mounts over consideration of Ganduje. Party's vice chair, Northwest, describes it as suicidal, insensitive. North Central stakeholders vow to stop former Kano governor. Ame Ebute joins race. Senators TCN to hold tender for electricity meters. Reps ask NEC not to approve tariff hike. Troops kill terrorists, bandits in ground air operations. Court orders DSS to allow Kano access to doctors' medical records. Reps ask CBN to explain transactions on excess crude accounts. Lawmakers move fresh appeal to ICJ over Bakassi. FIRS generates 5.5 trillion naira in 6 months. NEC dumps Buhari social investment register to consider salary increase. Elia uncovers 2,500 ghost workers, non-existing school, dead persons in Benue's payroll. I'll do everything possible to secure lives, property of Rivers residents, Fubara. Before we leave Daily Sun, we want to see what the editorial is saying today. Of course, the editorial is on Joseph Iruku, 1934 to 2023. Joseph Iruku is a former president of Aheneze Indigo, insurance icon, lawyer, and university teacher. Well, from that, we move over to the next paper we have on our menu. For more stories on Daily Sun, log on to the website www.sunnynewsonline.com. The next paper is Blueprint. Blueprint says palliatives and net calls for cuts in cost of governance. Fourth Buhari's cash transfer mode. Palliatives net calls for cuts in cost of governance. Fourth Buhari's cash transfer mode. OK's cost of living allowance for civil servants. NEMA to distribute 252,000 metric tons of grains, fertilizer. Gas-powered vehicles for public transportation underway. That's the leading story on Blueprint newspaper today. We also have FIROS rakes in 5.5 trillion naira revenue in first half of 2023. Benue earlier uncovers 2,500 ghost workers apologizes over salary delay. FBNH grows PBT to 206 billion naira in first half of 2023. Troops jail for war, eliminate 23 terrorists, nab 72 collaborators, destroyed 22 refinery sites, recover 3.525 million naira orders. Above that, we have PEPT article group alleges judge's resignation. Court denies claim. $155 million World Bank loan, Senate seeks protection for local meter manufacturers. That's the story on the cover of Blueprint newspapers today. For more stories, log on to the website www.blueprint.ng. From Blueprint newspaper, we move over to The Punch. The Punch has subsidy remover. Governors plan cash transfers to poor households. Dump Buhari's list. Subsidy remover. Governors plan cash transfers to poor households. Dump Buhari's list. States to compile new social registers. Governors to spend FAC allocations on scheme. Tinubu approves infrastructure fund. NEC adopts gas-powered vehicles for states. Because we have the picture of Vice President Kashim Shettima, who chaired the National Economic Council meeting yesterday at the Presidential Council chambers. We have police hunt for Kano blacksmiths fabricating weapons for criminals. 3 varsity students arrested for killing Abuja driver. PSC promotes cop assaulted by Shehu Kuti. 14,053 orders. Above the masthead of Punch, we have APC crisis. National Working Committee members oppose Ganduje, tip North Central for chair. Military destroys 23 illegal refineries, arrest 60 oil tips. NNPCL UTM to build Nigeria's first floating gas plant. Before we leave the Punch newspaper, we want to see this editorial today. Punch editorial is on state police essential to secure Nigeria. State police essential to secure Nigeria. From with that, we end today's the Punch review of stories today. And for more stories on the Punch, log on to the website of Punch newspapers www.punchng.com. From Punch, we move over to Vanguard. Vanguard has its leading story on palliatives. Palliatives, Buhari social register lacks credibility. NEC. Palliatives, Buhari social register lacks credibility. NEC. Ask states to generate own registers for cash transfer. Federal government to distribute 252,000 metric tons of grains to states. Says FAC shared 900 billion naira, not 1.9 trillion naira. States fail to give definite dates on when register will be ready. Labour accuses federal government of jettisoning presidential committee on palliatives. Because we have both picture of a NEC meeting yesterday in the presidential villa Abuja. Defense headquarters activates war mode against terror as military kills 23. Adulterated jet A1 NCAA fan MDPRA set up probe panel. Presidential Tribunal, news of Justice Ugo's resignation fake, appeal court. WHO warns unsafe syrup in Cameroon may slip into Nigeria, other neighbors. Of course, we have above the masthead of Vanguard, court orders ESS to grant Kanu access to his doctor medical records. Reps ask NEC to stop increase in electricity tariff. Chairmanship replacing Adamu with Ganduje, political suicide. Lukman, APC vice chair. FBN Holdings gross profit before tax to 206 billion naira for first half of 2023. For more stories on Vanguard, log on to the website www.vanguardngr.com. And from Vanguard, we move over to THISDAY newspaper. THISDAY has leading story still on the trend developing story in the country. Tinubu approves infrastructure support fund for 36 states to caution effects of subsidy removal. Tinubu approves infrastructure support fund for 33 states to caution effects of subsidy removal. FAC shares 907 billion naira among federal government, states, local governments for June. 1.9 trillion naira generated, 790 billion to be saved. Balance for statutory deductions. NEC rejects Buhari's National Social Register over integrity concerns. Endorses deployment of CNG vehicles for public transportation. Federal government to distribute 252,000 tons of grains to states. FRS to increase annual revenue generation from 10 trillion naira in 2022 to 25 trillion naira in 2024. Above that, we have subsidy removal. KPMG calls for tax cuts, transport vouchers. Says transparency critical in managing gains. PSC approves appointment of two DIGs, 14,052 inspectors, confirms 9,016 ASPs. Above the masthead of this day, we have NECA to federal government, rising cost of living driving organized businesses, Nigerians into hopelessness. With 206.3 billion naira half-year result, FVN posts new record in profits before tax. From that cover, we move over to the editorial of this day. Let's see what the editorial is saying today. Editorial is the pulse of the paper. It's saying halting diphtheria outbreak. Halting diphtheria outbreak. Health authorities could do more to contain the disease, the paper says. Most of the victims of the disease are children below 5 years whose immunity are unable to withstand the associated illnesses for diphtheria. For more on that editorial, just log on to the website of This Day newspaper, www.thisdaylive.com. From This Day, we move over to okay. Sorry, we have okay, The Nation newspaper. The Nation says NEC OK subsidy paying cash for poor workers, SMEs, others. Governors to drive sharing of palliatives. Senate defers recess for ministerial screening. Tinubu creates infrastructure support fund for states. Federal government states council share 907 billion naira. Excess revenue moved to CBN. Actually, it's only The Nation that captured the money shared by states and councils, which is 907 billion naira, whereas other papers reported 1.6 trillion naira. Court asks DSS to grant Kanu access to doctors. Niger sacks contractors. PSC appoints two DIGs, promotes to 14,052 inspectors to ASPs. Shareholders okay Nova's conversion to commercial bank. President leads tributes for eminent writer Kola Omotosho. More Nigerians now apply for passport, says NIS. Dangote Cement buys back 41.2 billion naira shares. From The Nation, let's just obviously see what the editorial is on today. Punch always writes two editorials daily. Reckless shooting, killing of 2.5-year-old child by NDLEA official calls into question the adequacy of their training and professionalism. Reckless shooting, that is editorial by on The Nation today. Of course, it also has editorial on Joseph Iruku, 1934 to 2023, the insurance icon who played a huge part in building the industry. Although he resisted all attempts to draft him into politics, he continued to make his contribution to Igbo land and in the Nigerian nation by regularly contributing to national discourse. That is the second editorial on The Nation, Joseph Iruku. For more on that, you log on to the website www.thenationonlineng.net. From that, we move over to the next paper, and obviously the last paper on our menu, The Guardian. The Guardian has a big story, of course, an exclusive story on its cover today. Hajj 2023, TS complaints trade Nigeria's 304 billion naira capital flight to Mecca. The Guardian. Hajj 2023, TS complaints trade Nigeria's 304 billion naira capital flight to Mecca. That is a big story on Guardian, pages 4 and 5. Of course, it has an infogram and a graphic illustration of how the money was spent, the 304 billion naira. We have the terror death toll hits 30 in Yobe, 289 hospitalized. With 1 week left, Tinubu's ministerial list fails to surface at Senate. PEPC Justice Ugo's proposed resignation fake news, says Court of Appeal. NNPCL in major merger amid race for profitability. NEC petitions Buhari social register over integrity concerns. 4-day-old survives as couple children die from generator fume in Anambra. Just before we go, let's see what the editorial on Guardian is all about today. Editorial says taming the monster of frequent boat accidents. Taming the monster of frequent boat accidents. For more on that and other new inside news stories, log on to the website of the Guardian newspaper, www.guardian.ng. Well, viewers, this is where we end the first segment of the show. Like I already mentioned, our Friday guest, Majid Dahiru, is already in the studio to throw light on some of the headline stories this week. Don't go away, just stay tuned.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the program is Inside Nigeria. You're the number one breakfast show on television. My name is Winnie Bebo, and with me in the studio is our Friday guest, Majid Dahiru. It's always a pleasure to host you on the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
A lot is happening as we speak, developing stories on the fuel hike, and so much has been said about the 8,000 naira transfer to household, and many Nigerians have flayed it, saying that no, that 8,000 naira should be converted to other means. And the president, many see him as a listening president, said, okay, he knows what to do. So, what's your take on all this?
Well, for somebody like me, who had opposed subsidy removal for as long as I can remember,
exactly,
I'm not surprised. I'm not even shocked at what is happening now.
Yes.
It was something we actually warned about, and here we are. What is clear is this: the price of petrol will continue to rise as long as it has been deregulated and we have floated the national currency, the naira, against other major world currencies. So that cumulative effect will continue to have its effect by way of an upward increase, an increase in price of PMS. And so whatever the government is planning today by way of palliatives will be rendered ineffective by the time you have the next round of price increase. For example, we're still discussing palliatives on 540, for example.
Yes.
617 happened.
Yes.
And if you look at what's happening in the foreign exchange market, with the naira continuously depreciating against the dollar, and with the rise in the price of international crude oil price in the international market, these two factors combined also means that there is an imminent increase in petroleum price within the next few weeks or so.
Yes.
So with that, while you're planning to do one thing to cushion the effect of the hike in petroleum prices, and that hike happens. So it's like digging in a bottomless pit. So that's what it is. First and foremost, Nigeria is not even in a position to carry out any form of palliative or social welfare scheme at all. For two reasons. Nigeria is too poor as a country. Nigerians are too poor. There are too many poor people. That who will you include in your social register and who will you omit. That's one. Then secondly, we don't have a credible register that can stand the test of integrity because we're not a data-driven country, so it's clear. And so talking about palliatives is just a waste of time. Absolutely, there's nothing that will come out of it. I don't know why people are arguing over the amount, the 8,000 naira proposed for 12 million households. The question is, how are you even sure that it will actually get to the 12 million household they're talking about?
And it's 8,000 for a household. I think
For
somebody
a
made us to
household,
understand that
not
it's not for per person.
no, it's
In
household
a household, you can have 12 people, you can have 4 people.
in a country that is said to have 133 million multidimensional poor people. You're not identifying 12 million households for 8,000 naira per month. What is the basis of selection? What is the criteria? In countries where you have social security, where they pay unemployment benefits, where they pay all sorts of social welfare benefits,
Yes.
everybody that was within that cadre is captured. Nobody is omitted. For example, when the United States of America paid out monies to citizens during the COVID-19 pandemic era, when they paid cash to citizens to help them stay, afloat economically because of the downturn in the economy, every American citizen, both those living in Nigeria and anywhere in the world, got their paycheck. That is how to do so. So we don't have the capacity to even do it. We don't have the money nor the structure. So I don't want to have a conversation around that. We need to now revisit what created all of these conversations. Subsidy removal.
Yes.
We need to revisit that issue.
Even the new National Assembly, the 10th National Assembly that we have, they don't want to revisit it because they said the calls were made okay for NNPC to revert it. And at the end of the day, the Lays had it.
Because they are not buying petrol at 617 naira with their money. They have approved for themselves 70 billion naira for SUVs, for all sorts of wasteful expenditure. So they are not feeling our pain. They are immune. The state, our taxes, our collective patrimony is being expended on them, so they don't have a problem. So they cannot feel it the way we are feeling it.
And
So
Temper is also high with the Tinubu telling Nigerians that he's going to, out of the 500 billion, 70 billion will be given to
what I'm saying. So the National Assembly is well taken care of. They have they have millions of naira every month as take-home pay and running costs. So they are not feeling this pain. They're not living on minimum wage. So they're not struggling to go to work. They will soon be gifted SUVs. They have housing allowance, they have clothing allowance, they have newspaper allowance, they have entertainment allowance. So they can afford to buy petrol even at 10,000 naira per liter. So until maybe they leave the National Assembly, they will now join the normal Nigerians to actually ask for a review.
No, Majid, there's so much hunger and anger in the land. What is the way forward?
Subsidy should never have been removed. Subsidy, those who can vouch for matter of subsidy, owe Nigerians an apology. And this includes Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, and of course, President Tinubu of the APC, and all those economists, so-called economists, those intellectuals, those swashbuckling, cockney accents, intellectuals that have been used us in the last 24 years on why subsidy on petrol was a crime that must be abandoned. They owe us an apology and they need to seek forgiveness from God for visiting on Nigerians this level of unprecedented economic hardship. There is no way out than to restore subsidy on petrol. There is absolutely no way out. I've made this point before. I'll make it today again. There is no country in the developed hemisphere globally that does not subsidize petrol. I challenge anybody in the government, outside the government, anybody anywhere to come to me for a debate on this matter. Let them show me a country in Western Europe, in North America, in Southeast Asia, in India, in Middle East that does not subsidize critical energy products or services for their citizens. I want to know that country. America is the headquarters of capitalism in the world. America subsidizes petrol, PMS. America subsidizes it. Amongst other subsidies, that in addition to subsidizing petrol and energy products generally, America has an elaborate, a comprehensive social security scheme since the 30s that is in place to take care of the vulnerable society. This is after subsidizing energy. And that register, the expenditure for the social security and welfare scheme is the largest component of the national budget at 19%. America spends more money for welfare of citizens, unemployment benefit, food stamps, and all sorts of welfare packages. Not subsidy on energy, put on a separate ballgame. Welfare, social security and welfare. America spends more money on that than education, than healthcare, than defense. Because that is the purpose of government, welfare. So those who told us that we should divert money from energy subsidy to something else were not thinking right when they made those claims. Energy is the bedrock of an economy. Let me explain this to you. What's happening to Nigeria right now? Our economy is unraveling. Our economy is about to tank. And if they don't restore subsidy, our economy will get ruptured, and social unrest will set in. That is why all over the world, petroleum or any other energy product is subsidized by government as a matter of national security and economic development. Subsidy on petrol was the most effective palliative for Nigerians. It was the most effective investment in the economy of Nigeria. The absence of subsidy is the consequence you are having 2 months later, and it's unending. It's unending. It tells you that we shouldn't have removed it in the first place.
Yes, that even going there, I want to ask you a question. Is it that Nigeria could not, successive governments that we've had, they couldn't manage it alone? Because we've been told before this eventual removal that it was going into the pockets of few people.
It was a lie. They lied to you and I. Is procurement fraud not leading to monies into people's pockets? Contracting. Why has government not managed procurement process and outsourced it to maybe a foreign entity to help us manage? Why is government still putting money in procurement? Even when it is an established fact that 60% of the fraud of the corruption in Nigeria is perpetrated through procurement processes. Why has government not stopped procuring procurement process in all this entire business? Nigeria is said to be endemically corrupt as a country. Why have we not dissolved the Nigerian state from the surface of the earth? Because of corruption. The only reason government removed subsidies from petrol is because that was the only expenditure government was actually doing that was effective. Who licenses importers? Who pays them? Is it me? Is it you? It is, if there's corruption in subsidy, it is government that's perpetrating it. We're asking the government to say, remove the corruption associated with it, if you claim there's corruption, and leave the subsidy for us. It's our entitlement as citizens. But somehow they were able to convince Nigerians using these dubious, very dubious narratives, and we swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. That subsidy should go. Subsidy has gone down, and we are not asking palliatives. What palliatives do you think can substitute for subsidy on energy? None. It's not possible. Subsidy on energy is distinct from palliatives. Subsidy on energy is a sine qua non for economic stability. It's something that you can't negotiate. Look, in Europe, they use more of gas and electricity as energy product than petrol. So you may not see them heavily subsidizing too much of petrol, because they don't use it. In UK, for example, you can exist without a petrol-driven vehicle. You can. You don't need it. In the UK, they have a subsidized transportation system, train and buses. It is subsidized. That is one.
Yes, it is heavily subsidized.
Thank you. Secondly, as we speak in the UK today, because electricity and gas drives the economy, with our production and all of that, there is a subsidy on gas and electricity today in the UK. It's called energy price cap today. Because when they also experienced this spike in cost of electricity and gas, UK people started doing armed robbery in UK. You'll be surprised to hear this. They started robbing people because people could not pay for gas and electricity and remain afloat. You started seeing strike by members of the NHS. I mean, labor disturbances all over. So government had to impose subsidy to cushion the effect of the rising price of gas and electricity. This is in addition to their own social security scheme. Let me tell you, I have a family friend in the UK who lost her job because of cost of doing business in the UK. So businesses shared with for some time, and there was rising inflation. But because she has worked in the previous 1 year, she is now on an unemployment benefit where they are now drawing from her taxes for the previous year to pay her.
That's where the system works.
Yes. In Germany, for year 2023, Germany has imposed an 83 billion euro, not naira, not worthless naira, euro subsidy regime on electricity for household and industries. Under that scheme, Germans, the German government to pay 80% of the cost of electricity for citizens across board. 83 billion euros. Because they know that they need it to revamp the economy, to make their export competitive. Let me also tell you this. You see China. China is one of the largest exporters in the world today, one of the largest economies in the world, next to, I think, America. China has a subsidy regime as of 2022 for energy, including petrol, all range of energy products, at $130 billion. You know what that means? If you produce a slippers or this phone in China and ship it all the way to Nigeria, and you produce the same thing in Nigeria and ship it to the next market in the same country, this one from China will be less expensive than the one made in Nigeria. So it is more price competitive. Nigeria should buy the one from China than the one from Nigeria.
That's what we are having.
Meaning that if you bring a pair of shoes from China to area market in the back, the one that was produced in area market will be more expensive than it. That is how governments invest in the economies to be export competitive. The same money government has expended on subsidy for energy to boost productivity, they will get it through this export expansion. It's common sense. Because the more you now make profit, you make sales. These same companies that will be giving subsidy on energy will pay taxes, employ people. So it cascades down the society. So more people are employed, and they pay income tax, they pay company tax. Government gets its money back. In Nigeria, we have refused to think. People that are not thinking are in charge of our affairs. And they are behaving like drunken sailors aboard the sinking ship. Because while it is going on, our governors and ministers and presidents have refused to cut down on their own privileges. So
yes, that is the worst.
They have refused, though. And they are asking to attach your bet while they have losing their own bets to continue to feed fat. So we need to go back to that conversation around subsidy. Subsidy was an economic venture, it's not a vice. Subsidy must be restored now before it gets out of hand. Secondly,
but I'm surprised manufacturers are not crying out.
No, they are.
They are going to affect
They are. They have cried and cried and cried. But because there's an orthodoxy, they are not able to tell government to restore subsidy. Because there's an orthodoxy that says subsidy is a vice, is a sin.
Yes.
So people are complaining, but they don't know what to ask for. So we're helping them once again to ask for it. Government should restore subsidy now and begin to invest in the resuscitation of our local refineries.
Yes.
And the federal government, through the NNPC, should partner with oil producing states like Rivers, Akwa Ibom, I can't say this enough, Delta, Bayelsa, Edo, and others, to begin to build state-owned refineries in partnership with other investors. It must happen now. You cannot tie your energy destiny or fortune to the uncertainties of international market pricing regime. It is suicidal. No country does that. There's no OPEC country without price control and regulation of energy at home, from Saudi Arabia to Kuwait to the Emirates, name it. It is a matter of national security. So any reasonable government all over the world will subsidize two things fundamentally: food and energy. It's fundamental. It's not something that anybody should debate. You can never hear in any same country where people are going to election and they are campaigning to remove subsidy on energy. It doesn't happen anyway. It's only in Nigeria that it happened for the first time in the world. Not in America. It doesn't happen. America prioritizes energy security and energy subsidy over infrastructural development. Because whereas people can survive with poor infrastructure, no economy survives what we are in now. None. There'll be loss of jobs, there'll be frustration, there'll be poverty. In fact, I don't know, the world will not be able to describe the kind of poverty we're going to experience. They can't explain it. So they need to restore subsidy. Nigeria should call on the government to restore subsidy and stop listening to those lies, those half-truths, those pervasive narratives that they churned out. How can the government be telling me that people are stealing subsidy money? What you are telling me is that you are ineffective. How can you tell me that people are smuggling products out of the border? It means you cannot secure your own border, even against. It means you are a failure. It means you are a failure. If you cannot administer subsidy without corruption, you are telling the world that you are corrupt and you are not able to manage corruption. And that corruption has conquered the country. I want investors to come to Nigeria. Come and do what? Which investor will come to Nigeria to come and invest in this kind of environment? Why do you think China became a destination for even Western investment? Energy security was one of it.
Mm.
China knew that, look, if companies coming to China to set up factories know that they have stable power and other energy sources they need to work at an affordable price, it will incentivize them to come there. That was how China developed. Why are we not doing the right thing?
Mm.
You have removed subsidy now, you have transferred the so-called savings to states. These state governors that I know,
Mm.
you expect them to use it to do palliative for who? For Nigerian citizens. Donors are not able to pay salary, even when they have the money to pay salary. I don't understand where we are going to. And the government appears to be stuck. So we need to go back to subsidy payments now.
And you know the strange part of it, or the irony of it, is that they told Nigerians that they've been able to save about 400 billion naira from this fuel subsidy removal. And at the end of the day, you're going to borrow
$800 million
billion.
to
What
now
happened to
pay.
the 400 billion you've saved from subsidy?
How do you claim to save money from at the expense of the people's economic lives? What kind of savings is that? Savings for
And now
who?
NEC is threatening to also increase the electricity.
So tell me, savings for who? Imagine an increase in electricity, increase in petrol price that is continuously increasing.
And you want to develop economy.
How will it develop? How? Through where? How? Our president went to France for a conference where he gleefully announced to the world that there is no subsidy from petrol. And that was a courageous thing to do. They clap for him all. But I'm sure Macron must be looking at President Tinubu and wondering what kind of what was used to create these people. Because Macron subsidizes electricity in France for citizens. The electricity company in France is owned by the French government. It's owned. No, you say you cannot do business in Nigeria. And you privatize power holding company. Good. France is the owner of their own. And France spends as much as 50 billion euros annually to subsidize electricity. Because they know that electricity drives the economy.
Yes.
You know, for a country that has electricity in abundance, adequate, you can even prioritize funding subsidy for electricity over, say, petrol. So, because that's what drives it. But in Nigeria, we don't have electricity. What we have is alternative source of power supply, which is powered by either diesel or petrol. So, subsidy must be on these two items more than electricity. I don't even, for me, government should not subsidize electricity in Nigeria because it's not even available. You can stay 2-3 days without electricity. So what are you subsidizing? But petrol is at least something that can easily be available. And so everybody uses it. So in France, for example, it is electricity that drives the economy. So they subsidize electricity. You know what they did recently? Because the company itself, though owned by government, has about 60% shares divested to the public. So there are some private stakeholders. So because government was paying subsidy, so meaning they were making losses. The company was not running at a profit; they were making losses. Because when you use all your profit to now pay subsidy, so the shareholders are now asking for their dividends, and they took the company, the French government, to court. Do you know the court rules against the shareholders in favor of the government? And now,
why is that?
Because the court in France knows that government is doing this for energy security, so they now give the government permission to pay off those shareholders. Buy off their shares and now own this 100% and continue on subsidy, my friend, for the benefit of the people. A court, and the appeal court of France ruled in this direction because you understand that, look, we will die if they don't subsidize electricity. That's why when cost of living crisis happened in UK, it didn't happen in France because of electricity subsidy. It did not. It didn't happen in Norway. It didn't happen in Sweden or Switzerland. It didn't happen even in Germany because the German government is also directly involved in the means of production in energy resources. This is what every reasonable government does. Nigeria is the only exception. Saudi Arabia, like us, they subsidize petrol, diesel, gasoline, in addition to education or healthcare, and they still fund infrastructure effortlessly. Why do we have to sacrifice one for the other in Nigeria? Because we are not productive. We are not able to ramp up oil production in Nigeria Delta because of oil theft. Who is in charge of national security? Is it me or you? Saudi Arabia pumps 10 billion barrels of crude every day. 10 billion. Saudi Arabia has a company called Aramco. Aramco's revenue for 2022 was over $500 billion. A state-owned company. Aramco. Aramco operates refineries in Saudi Arabia and operates refineries in China and America and all over the world. State-owned. It is because we are not doing this that I find it difficult to pay for education, pay for healthcare, pay for infrastructure, pay decent wages, and of course, provide security. That should be the conversation. Why are we failing? In all of these countries I've mentioned, corruption is very low. Germany is able to pay 83 billion euros. It's not because they're doing anything different. They are not corrupt.
Yes.
The German Chancellor, in living memory, has now been accused of stealing one Dutch mark for German or €1. You know Donald Trump, with all his rascality. Have you noticed that Donald Trump has been accused of stealing money?
Yes.
Have you noticed it? With all his rascality. Have you noticed that Boris Johnson, with all the resign and go, nobody accused Boris Johnson of stealing £1. So they say he did party during COVID when he said nobody should do party. That was all. He had to go. All the time that Clinton was being harassed, Clinton didn't steal money. They say, Clinton, why did you look at someone that was working under you with a second eye? That is, if you can cheat on your wife, you have integrity deficiency, you can cheat on the country. That was the fear. Clinton was impeached. Not that he stole money. Have we tackled corruption in public service? Have we tackled corruption of the political class? Before you are telling me that Nigeria cannot afford subsidy. Have you solved that problem? That is the challenge. We not recover from this, and I fear for the country. I fear. I have been consistent about this issue. I fear for this country because our political leaders are behaving like drunken sailors in charge of a sinking ship. Whether the people will allow them to sink their ship is what I don't know going forward. They are provoking the people. In all of my short life on earth so far, I never imagined Nigerians buying petrol at 200 naira.
It's like a dream that many people
Nigerians are still dazed. It's like their days, they don't even know how to react. They don't know what to do.
Exactly.
It's like, this is. That's why, again, they were deceived into this. I made the point earlier. When a group of people decided to convince Nigerians that they should vote for subsidy removal, this is the reason. I said those people who did this should apologize to Nigerians and seek for forgiveness from God. Because Nigerians trusted them. The people that Nigerians, they felt they had knowledge. The likes of Verify, the likes of Peter Obi, the likes of Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi, the likes of Okonjo-Iweala, name them. These were people that Nigerians thought knew what they were doing, had the knowledge and had the integrity. Unknown to Nigerians, some of us warned that all of these people do not have a proper sense of judgment. On the social matter that they are parroting. Here we are now. Have you heard them speaking recently? Where is Sanusi? Where is Peter Obi? Where is Okonjo-Iweala? Where is Erufai? And others like them. They're no longer talking now. Because I don't know what do they want to tell us to do about this. So even Labour Party, that is a people-driven party, cannot even stand for the people at this point. Because the candidate said was going to do the same thing this man has done. Yes.
So he claims that where you had palliative.
You can't substitute palliative for energy security. Stop saying that, Mr. P2B. Stop saying it. What P2B should do now? Let P2B have an emergency meeting with NLC and Labour Party leadership and the caucus of the National Assembly and their governor. Let them come out a new statement repudiating his earlier stand on subsidy removal. Apologize and admit error of judgment. And also look, having looked at the decision today, we are now committed to subsidizing energy for Nigeria, particularly petrol and other very relevant energy sources, in a very sanitized subsidy regime administration, while also prioritizing rapidly the fixing of our refineries and building of new ones to have homegrown solution to this problem. That is what the P2B should do via a national podcast now. Let's start talking about palliatives that he had plans to do on subsidy. How can you compare palliatives to subsidy on energy? How do you put the two on the same scale? Other countries have palliatives as social security for their citizens running. While subsidy on energy is still in place, and subsidy on education, subsidy on healthcare, and infrastructure development. Why should one give way for the other?
But this is just a simple arithmetic. How can you remove subsidy when your refineries are not working? When the one that you are depending on, Dangote refinery, is still not up and going, you just remove it.
So I don't understand. We're not thinking.
Is that not suicide?
It is suicidal. It's economic suicide we've committed, though. You know the worst part? The price will keep rising. Because look, those who couch the word energy security, they're not dumb. Let me tell you what happened to the United States of America in the 1970s. You know, cost of energy wasn't this high before. Because crude wasn't very priced. From the 50s, when it was quite in Nigeria, 60s, it wasn't priced. The price of crude began to appreciate in the early 70s when the oil cartel OPEC was formed by Arab countries and included Nigeria. So the Arab people had more consciousness about their natural resources. So they demanded per barrel payment rather than just royalties.
Okay.
Before now, the white man came to their land, started drilling and paying royalties. So that's why they want to know if you drill one barrel, please pay for that one barrel. And so they negotiated it. So oil began to appreciate in value. By 1973, the Arab-Israeli War broke out. So Saudi Arabia was very involved that period. And being a major world producer of oil, Saudi Arabia decided to use oil to punish the West for supporting Israel against Palestinian people. So there was an oil embargo against America and the West. So America, though, had oil companies all over the world, but they didn't have a national policy on energy security per se. Because there was no need, because energy price of crude wasn't high. And most of energy products we use come from crude, including gas. When you distill it and refine it, it produces petrol, diesel, anything that powers our economy comes largely from crude. Except now that we're not having renewables. And so it affected America. Price of gasoline went up in America. There was scarcity. The economy was in turmoil. It was serious. Between 1973 and 1975, America suffered. That was when they now realized that no, government must intervene. What did the American government do? American government now decided to establish what is called a strategic petroleum reserve in America. So the government now buys crude. That's why America buys crude all over the world. Every day they buy crude. They are buying to store in that petroleum reserve. So whenever there is this kind of embargo, or the price of crude goes up beyond certain level that will affect pump price at the station, America will reduce crude from there to refiners at discounted rates. What do you call that?
Subsidy.
Grand subsidy. This is in addition to subsidizing their production of oil in America, because in America they have oil, they have reserves of oil too. So for those that are drilling oil in America, the government gives them huge incentives, tax cuts, tax breaks, all to subsidize and reduce the cost of production, tries to reduce the price of PMS at the pump. Because America knows that this is an energy product that is vital to the economy. You know, unlike UK, America does not have an organized transportation system. Americans drive cars. You know, the American is too individualistic. So he drives cars. He likes to drive his big trucks all over the country. So America knows that people need petrol to survive. So they subsidize it as a matter of priority. That is where we learned how not to subsidize petrol from. I don't know how somebody can tell you something that he's not doing at home and you are doing it in your own country.
So as you were saying, so that's how America was able to with that fallout.
Yes, that was how that was beginning. So since then, America has become energy secured. They have millions of barrels stored there. Last winter, Saudi Arabia indicated that they're going to cut output.
Yes.
Last year's winter. No, we're about to go into, after the summer now, we're going to winter. And so President Biden activated backdoor communication channel with Saudi to say, please don't cut production so that the price of crude will not go up. Go into the winter, because it will increase price of energy products that is most needed during winter for heating, for other things. So Saudi didn't budge. Saudi didn't. I think they had issues, other issues with America. So they didn't budge. And so Saudi was going to cut production and the price was going to go up. What America did, that President Joe Biden now issued an executive order to release crude from that petroleum reserve to refiners going into the winter. That is a responsible government. Not to this, that they tried to get Saudi not to. He actually visited Saudi Arabia for this matter. He went to visit, but they didn't accord him the request. They didn't. Yes, he made that effort. These are entirely private sector driven activities in America. But the government knows that if we remove our hand, our people will die. He traveled. When Saudi refused to board, he came back and now released. If they didn't have that petroleum reserve, how would America survive that increment? Yes. They are restocking it every time they restock it. During the ASU crisis, I don't know, I'm tired, my dear sister. People were blaming ASU for demanding for government funding for education. And I don't know what they want, government does not fund education. And I'm like, which part of the world are you talking about? In America, government funds public education, primary, including busing and feeding of children down to their houses. And the government funds private universities in America, federal government of America. The biggest funding for Harvard, for IMT, for Chicago University of Chicago, another, highbrow how do you call them? Ivy League universities like Yale and all of that comes from the government of the United States of America through research, funding, and other things. in billions of dollars. Because you know why? America knows that education is a matter of national security. People need to be educated properly, to be productive in the economy, and to be sociable. They know. So they support institutions that groom their citizens to be the way they have become. Leaders in every phase of human endeavor. Government knows it's important, so they fund it. The government in Nigeria cannot fund its own universities. And you had people who came on air who used big platform like to say, government does not fund education anywhere in the world, and that we cannot continue to bear the burden. So we have shifted from ASU. ASU is they are done with ASU. It is not petrol. They are done with it. They'll go to the next one. One day they will ask you to start breathing, pay for the air you breathe. Energy, petrol. Energy is like the air human beings breathe. You know, the day you value, you appreciate God, is the day, God forbid, the day that anybody needs to now use respirator to stay alive. And you pay for it, you now know how important this free air you're breathing. Energy is what air is to human being, to the economy. That's why government that is like God in this life, God in this world, make sure that it comes at an affordable price and made available so that economies can just breathe. You can just stay afloat. You can produce. That's why energy security, which includes subsidy, because to make it affordable, you have to subsidize. It's an investment in the economy. It's an investment in productivity, not subsidy on consumption. I don't know where Mr. P2B got that idea from. It was a dangerous idea that propagated with so much passion that convinced people that subsidy should go. How do you describe subsidizing petrol as subsidizing consumption? Am I drinking petrol? Who drinks petrol? Do I bath petrol?
No, you don't. No,
how do you tell me it's consumption? What is? I hate the smell of petrol. I hate to drive, as a matter of fact. I don't like driving cars. But I had to drive. I'm working here. I drove my petrol-driven car here for work. I'm not. Are we playing here? We are rendering service. Yes. Media service. I need petrol to come and do that. You needed it to come here and do that. That is production. It is productivity. If there's no electricity here right now, we're likely to use either a diesel power generator or a petrol power generator to continue to render this service to people. It will attract advert revenues for us, keep our jobs safe, pay us our salaries at the end of the month, and we move on. Energy. And somebody says subsidy on such an energy commodity, and you are clapping for it, and now you're not seeing the effect. We will keep having this conversation for a long time. Take note, the states failed to give definite dates on when this will be ready. Which state is it? The state governors that have ready? This ones.
Oh no, our time flies so soon. It's always a delight to listen to you. Honestly, the government overplayed its hands on this subsidy remover. Viewers, you've heard it all from Majid Ayo. It's always a pleasure to have him.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to having you next week. Viewers, this is where we end today's Inside Nigeria, your breakfast show on Leadership Television. Till I come your way again, same time next week, Monday. Have a beautiful weekend. This is Winifred telling you goodbye and keep yourself safe. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.